Good morning, dear listeners, and welcome to AUIBFM 101.5. This is The Morning Show. And always they say your mental health is just as important as your physical health. It deserves the same kindness, it deserves the same attention, and of course, the same care. And for the next stop in our ride today, we dive into a topic that is really important and touches everyone's lives. In our special segment in Wellness Talk, we will talk about mental health. And of course, it's in collaboration with the Wellness Center inside AUIB. We often hear this phrase, but what does it really mean? And why should we care about mental health and the well-being as much as we care about the physical health? And how to protect our mental health? All of this will be tackled with Dr. Jeinefer Cook, the director of the Wellness Center inside AUIB. So welcome to our studio.
Thank you. It's
Hi.
good to be here.
It's good to be here. And of course, it's really good and it's a pleasure to meet you today.
Thank you.
Well, today we'll be talking about the mental health. Everyone is talking about mental health and we hear it all of the time, but we don't know what it is. So can you clarify this for us?
Of course. And it is so important, you're right, that our mental health, we can think about that as our psychological and our emotional well-being. And we know that when we have a physical injury or a physical challenge, that affects us all day long and sometimes all night long. And we seek treatment and help for that. Well, the same is true for our mental health, that things happen to us that make us have more challenges, that are almost like having a little injury that affect the way we feel about ourselves or the world. And it's very important that we seek help for that and we do the things we need to in order to heal our mental health and make sure that we're protecting and taking care of our mental health every day.
Mm-hmm. Well, mental health can definitely affect a lot of factors and a lot of things. How do you think that mental health can play an important role in the way we think, the way we perceive the world, and maybe the way we act?
Absolutely. So we can think about mental health many different ways, but I like to look at it in really two ways. Number one is our performance. And so we definitely want to be successful in our lives, academically, professionally, in our families, in our communities. And mental health really affects how well we can perform day to day and accomplish the things that we want to accomplish. And, you know, another way to consider our mental health is really just the way that we experience the world. So when we wake up each day, the way that we experience the world around us, the people that we're with, the way we experience our own well-being and our own selves is really through that perspective of how healthy our mental health is. And so it affects everything from our day-to-day performance to the way that we experience ourselves in the world moment to moment each day.
Mm-hmm. So from the things that you mentioned, you said performance and you said the way we think. So how much does it affect our students? Today we're talking to students mostly, whether AUIB or other students, especially Gen Z.
Yes.
This new generation is suffering a lot, but doesn't know that. A lot of them just don't know that they're suffering because they're too busy with their lives, too busy with their academic journey. So how is it important that students actually can care for their mental health?
Absolutely. It's so important. And you're absolutely right that oftentimes students especially don't realize that the way that we perform under stress, that it doesn't have to be that way. It starts to become our new normal, and we think that that's just the way that it has to be, and that's not the case. Mm-hmm. And there was a very interesting study released by Harvard, and they said that our success academically and professionally really depend on three things. And the first is our social support, so how well we feel supported by those around us. The second is our level of optimism, and that all comes from our mental health. And then the third is our ability to see stress as a challenge rather than a threat. And so that's something that when we think about our mental health, you know, how much social support do we have? How much optimism are we able to bring forth each day? That all comes from how healthy we are, from our mental health. And then are we able to manage our stress? Mm-hmm. And that really is going to be the foundation for how successful we are academically and professionally.
Mm-hmm. Of course, we're going to tackle more details about how can we get that social support and how can we get that support from our surroundings and how important it is. But I wanted to say something that it's really common between people. And they always say, if you express your feelings and you talk about your mental health, then you are weak.
Yes.
So, how much true is this misconception, and why do people think that emotions and feelings are weakness?
It's 100% untrue. So I'm so happy that you brought that up. It is something that we hear all the time. And unfortunately, in our society and even sometimes in our families and within our friendships, we are under the impression that if we express any sort of emotion, even things like sadness or vulnerability or fear or weakness, that it is a weakness or that it's a personal flaw. And the truth is that we're all having those feelings inside. And there's a real physical chemical reaction happening in our brains and our bodies when we have emotion. And if we don't process that in a healthy way and communicate and express that and deal with that in a healthy way, then that builds up and it really does lead to things like disease and unhappiness and trauma and low performance. So definitely.
Well, those people who suppress their feelings all of the time, and maybe some of them just keep themselves just busy all of the time, just to ignore those emotions and those ideas. So, what are the symptoms that when someone sees with themselves, they have to seek for professional help, or maybe think about mental health and just take a moment and see that this is the moment where they actually need help?
Yes, absolutely. You know, there's so many ways that this shows up, and it's really different for everyone. So if there are things that you notice that you're not excited about, that you used to be excited about, things that you used to really enjoy, that you no longer enjoy, when, particularly for our students, when they notice they're having a difficult time focusing, for example, or getting through a class, being able to focus and listen and understand what's being said, or to get through an assignment without having to, look away or avoid, or if they're starting to avoid studying by sleeping instead, or thinking that they need to escape and, watch TV or or get away from that. So when you have that feeling of needing to escape, when you have difficulty focusing, when you start to isolate yourself, when it starts to feel maybe exhausting to be around the people that you love, or it just feels like things are too much. I hear that so often from our students. They just feel like it's just become too much. Many of us, we know that it's time to seek some support when we start to get irritable, when we start to be angry about things that maybe we shouldn't be angry about, when we start to be overthinking things that we don't need to be overthinking, when we start to ruminate or we start to feel anxious. And, that really leads to what we start to feel in our bodies. So it's not just what we're feeling emotionally and mentally, but oftentimes we start to feel that in stomach aches or chest pressure or heart palpitations or anxiety attacks, headaches, migraines. These are really common signs that it's time to take a step back and take care of our mental health.
Wow, that's a lot of things that they might think we might think that it's simple, and having a headache all the time or just being anxious, it's kind of normalized nowadays that you have anxiety and you're afraid and you're stressed. It's kind of normal and it's a part of our lives, but I think it's really important to just see those signs and just it's the moment where I can seek help. Yes. And the moment that we realize that we need to seek help, a lot of people are afraid to seek help and take a consoling session or a therapy session. They think it's something forbidden or it's kind of a stigma. So what is the first step that a student or a person handling and dealing with all of these things that you've mentioned can take the first step toward being better?
Absolutely. The first thing to do is to reach out and know that any conversation with us, any consultation or therapy session is completely safe and confidential. And we take that very, very seriously, that we hold all of our clients in very high regard. We believe in keeping their worth very high, treating them with dignity and respect, and really validating whatever they're feeling and whatever they're processing at that time and whatever they need to talk about. So the very first step would be reach out to us. You can email us, call us. There's links that I'm sure we can provide for people to be able to reach out to us. And keep in mind that so many of those who reach out to us think that one of the first things they'll say is, I'm not sure if I really need to come and talk to someone.
Yeah.
And then once they come and start talking to us, they realize how much they really did need to come and talk to someone. And we're so happy that they did.
Yes. Well, the problem is I think a lot of people, when they think about consoling sessions, they always say, I have nothing to say, or what can I say? What is the first word that have to come out of my mouth? It's scary and I can't do this. So maybe we can tell the listeners what can they expect from a consoling session? Like, what is the first step? How can we just be brave to take that step towards mental health?
Of course, absolutely. So there are really two ways that this can go. We have our amazing wellness coordinator, Sarah, who, if anyone would like to just visit our office or give her a call or send her an email, she can spend 10 or 15 minutes with you just discussing what a session would look like or what kind of services we provide. There are lots of different options. And so she can do a quick consultation and answer any questions that someone has and then point them in the right direction. If someone knows that they'd like to have a counseling session with us, then really what that looks like is they come in and we talk about the confidentiality, we set some goals, we talk about, what the session will look like and that how many times they'd like to come, and maybe they're not sure, and that's okay. But really the first step is just for us to be the listeners. And we really like to get to know those who come to visit us. We really just listen. What is it that they're experiencing? What is it that they're hoping to accomplish? Sometimes people just need a safe, confidential space where there's a safe listener and an empathetic listener to really hear you and validate you. Oftentimes our clients can find their own solutions for themselves just by being able to speak about that. Oftentimes we have so many thoughts and feelings and emotions swirling in our minds, and when we can just allow those things to come out of our mouths and be able to articulate those to a safe, confidential person, we can come up with solutions for ourselves, and that's a very common experience. Other people, they need to have some education around the way the nervous system works, or the way that our brains work, or the way that why we respond to things sometimes the way we do. And so we're happy to provide that, and it can be very insightful for people. Oftentimes people just need to have some tools. They know where they are now, they know where they want to get to, but that in-between stage is very unclear. And so we can teach them and provide them with the tools and the confidence to be able to understand who they are and why they're working towards what they're working towards, and then provide them with the tools in order to get there.
Yeah. You mentioned something about, that people need just a safe space to talk and have a conversation. Is it possible that some clients just are enough with only one session and that's it?
Yes, absolutely.
That's so common.
Yeah. It's probably less common, to be honest.
Okay. Yeah.
And I love this, that oftentimes people will come for one session saying, I think I just have one thing to talk about, and I'll come and have one session. And we are absolutely okay with that. You can come see us one time or 20 times.
Okay.
But what's very common is they'll come for one session and they realize, wow, I have a lot of things that I want to accomplish, and I have a lot of goals and a lot of things that I'd like to really work through. And so they find themselves coming back. But we support they are the boss. They're in charge of their experience. And so whatever is best for them, we support that.
Yes. Well, we as a community and academic institutions, we hear about mental health and we tell people how to care for their mental health. But what is, in your personal opinion, most importantly that we can do as academic institutions and a community that has stigma towards mental health? What can we do to raise the awareness a little bit more?
I'm so happy that you asked this question, because I really do believe that what keeps people from seeking the help that they need is their fear of what other people will think, and that they've been told, and our society has taught us for so long, that if we're seeking mental help or help for our mental health, that that's a weakness, or that, it's so sad. I hear, I'm not crazy, I don't need to come for help. People will think I'm crazy or that I'm weak. And absolutely the opposite is true. It's a strength to understand when you need help. And so we really just need to start talking about this more. Mm-hmm. We need to normalize these conversations, and we need to really empower people in a way that they can understand themselves, that taking care of your mental health is just as important as taking care of your physical health. Mm-hmm. And to be able to reach out and ask for that support, it really is a strength.
Mm-hmm. Yes, this is why we're here today, why we came up with all of this, because we're starting to realize how mental health can really affect a lot of aspects in our lives, maybe our career, maybe our academic journey. So it's really important to tackle this, and we're really happy that we're talking about this. Yeah. So one advice that you would like to give to the listeners?
Yes. Wow, how do I narrow it down to one? I think, one of the things that's so important is to be able to know that you can depend on others, and that if you have one or two people in your life that are safe, you can be yourself with. What we want more than anything is authentic belonging, and that really does impact our mental health more than many other things, and we want to feel that authentic belonging. So take advantage of the few people you have in your life where you can be with them and reset your nervous system, maybe laugh or cry or whatever you need to do that day, and use those people in your life. And if you don't have people like that in your life that you feel safe with, which is very common, sadly, then that's what we're here for too. Yeah. And so we can be that person for you.
Yes, and of course, it's a reminder that if you are a student inside AIB, they can always go to the Wellness Center, AIB Wellness Center, whenever they feel like they want to talk or they have something in mind, they can just go there, and we will list the contact information, of course, about the Wellness Center. So thank you, Dr. Jennifer, for being here with us today, and thank you for sharing all of this insights and tools. And of course, in other episodes, we will tackle even more important topics about mental health. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I look forward to our next episodes.
Me too, of course. Thank you all, dear listeners. And remember, caring for your mental health is just as important as caring for your physical health. So take care of yourself, and thank you for listening to The Morning Ride.